Every single day, humanity uses inventions that change the world forever. The traffic lights that keep cities moving, the blood transfusions that save lives in emergency rooms, the home security systems that protect families while they sleep. But here's what they don't teach in schools, what history books conveniently forget. The geniuses behind these world-changing innovations were systematically erased. Their brilliance was stolen, their patents denied, their names deliberately forgotten. Until now. This is the story of the black inventors who built modern life. Brick by brilliant brick, without credit, without recognition, without justice. If you believe these stories deserve to be told, hit that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on those notifications, because history has been hiding these truths for far too long, and we're about to shine a light on every single one of them. You're about to discover that the world you live in was built by minds that were never supposed to succeed. By people who changed everything despite a system designed to break them. And by the end of this journey, you'll never look at everyday objects the same way again. The year is 1876. In a cramped workshop, a young black man named Lewis Latimer sits hunched over a drafting table, his hands moving with practiced precision. He's drawing blueprints for something that will change human communication forever. Alexander Graham Bell's telephone. But Latimer isn't just an artist with a pencil. He's the son of escaped slaves who taught himself mechanical engineering while working as an office boy, staying late every night to study the work of the engineers around him, absorbing knowledge that nobody thought to teach him because nobody believed he was capable of learning it. Thomas Edison gets the credit for inventing the light bulb. Every schoolchild knows his name, but here's what they don't tell you. Edison's original bulb burned out in just a few hours, making it completely impractical for actual use. It was Latimer who solved the problem that stumped everyone else. He invented the carbon filament, the breakthrough that made light bulbs last long enough to actually illuminate homes, streets, and cities. Without Lewis Latimer, the world stays dark. Without his genius, there's no electric grid, no modern civilization as we know it. Yet he worked in Edison's shadow, brilliant and unseen, writing poetry by candlelight about a world he was literally helping to illuminate, while history prepared to forget his name. Just a few decades later, another invisible genius was about to save dozens of lives in the most dramatic way possible. July 1916, Cleveland, Ohio. A tunnel. Explosion traps 32 workers beneath Lake Erie. Poison gas filling the chamber, men choking and dying in the darkness. Above ground, rescue workers refuse to enter, knowing it's a death sentence. Then a black man named Garrett Morgan arrives, wearing a strange hood-like device of his own invention. Without hesitation, he descends into that toxic hell and emerges carrying survivors, making trip after trip until every living soul is brought to safety. Morgan's safety hood, which he'd invented years earlier, becomes an overnight sensation. Orders pour in from fire departments across the country. Lives are being saved. But then, word spreads that the inventor is black, and suddenly, those orders are canceled. Fire departments refuse to use equipment created by a black man, even equipment that saves lives. The cruelty is breathtaking, the racism literally deadly. But Morgan's invention doesn't die with those canceled orders. When World War I erupts and soldiers face mustard gas in the trenches, military engineers remember that Hood Morgan's design becomes the blueprint for gas masks that save countless soldiers on the battlefield, though his name is carefully scrubbed from the history. The story doesn't end there. One day, Morgan witnesses a horrific carriage accident at an intersection. Vehicles colliding because there's no clear way to control traffic flow. Most people would just walk away, shaken. Morgan sees a problem to solve. He invents the three-position traffic signal, the yellow caution light that gives drivers time to slow down safely. Cities across America adopt his design. Every single day, millions of people trust their lives to Garrett Morgan's invention as they drive through intersections. Yet, almost nobody knows his name. The guardian angel nobody ever knew existed. World War II is raging, and soldiers are dying on battlefields not from their wounds, but from blood loss. The medical community is desperate for a solution. Enter Dr. Charles Drew, a black surgeon whose mind is about to revolutionize medicine forever. Drew discovers how to separate and preserve blood plasma, creating the first large-scale blood banks. His innovation means blood can be stored, transported, and used to save lives weeks after donation. It's a miracle of modern medicine. And Drew becomes the director of America's Blood for Britain program, literally keeping the Allied war effort alive. But here's where the story turns dark. The American military, despite all evidence to the contrary, despite Drew's own groundbreaking research proving that blood is just blood, decides to segregate blood donations by race black blood in one stockpile, white blood in another, as if racism has a scientific basis, as if prejudice can be measured in hemoglobin. Dr. Drew, the man who made their entire blood banking system possible, is devastated. He resigns in protest, calling the policy scientifically baseless and morally indefensible. He's right, of course, but righteousness doesn't protect him from the cruelty of the system he's trying to save. In 1950, at just 45 years old, Dr. Charles Drew dies from injuries in a car accident. A myth spreads that he bled to death because white hospitals refused to treat him. And while the reality is more nuanced, the myth persists because it feels true to the lived experience of Black Americans who know that racism kills. What's undeniable is this: every modern blood bank, every emergency transfusion, every life saved by donated blood exists because a Black man cared more about saving lives than about a system that refused to value his. Drew's legacy is written in the survival of millions, even if his name remains unknown to most of them. Fast forward to the 1970s. A young Black woman named Patricia Bath is fighting her way through medical school, facing racism from professors and sexism from colleagues, navigating a world that believes she doesn't belong in either medicine or science. But Dr. Bath refuses to be stopped. She's working in ophthalmology when she notices a disturbing pattern. Black patients are going blind at twice the rate of white patients, not because of genetics or fate, but because of access. Poor communities, predominantly Black communities, simply can't reach quality eye care. Preventable blindness is spreading like a plague of injustice. Dr. Bath becomes the first African American female doctor to receive a medical patent, and what she invents changes everything. The laser phaco probe revolutionizes cataract surgery, using lasers to remove cataracts with unprecedented precision and safety. But here's the miracle that defines her legacy. Dr. Bath's device restores sight to people who've been blind for 30 years. Imagine living in darkness for 3 decades, then seeing your grandchildren's faces for the first time. That's the gift Patricia Bath gave to the world. She didn't just advance medicine, she literally gave people back their ability to see. Yet outside the medical community, her name remains largely unknown, another genius hidden in plain sight. 1966, Queens, New York. Marie Van Britten Brown works as a nurse, often coming home late at night to a neighborhood where crime is rising and police response is painfully slow, especially in Black communities. She's afraid in her own home, a feeling that millions of women understand too well. But Marie doesn't just accept that fear. She decides to engineer her way out of it. Working with her husband Albert, an electronics technician, Marie invents the first home security system, closed-circuit television cameras that let her see who's at the door, a 2-way microphone to communicate without opening up, remote-controlled door locks, an emergency button that alerts police immediately. It's revolutionary. Every element of modern home security born from one woman's refusal to live in fear. The bitter irony cuts deep. Police had ignored her neighborhood, responding slowly if at all. But her invention becomes the blueprint for protecting millions. Every doorbell camera, every home security system, every video intercom traces its lineage directly back to Marie Van Britten Brown, a black woman trying to feel safe in her own home. Now jump forward to 1982. Lonnie Johnson is a nuclear engineer working at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, designing power systems for spacecraft. He's in his bathroom one evening, testing a heat pump experiment, when suddenly a powerful stream of water shoots across the room. Most people would grab a towel and clean up the mess. Johnson sees the greatest water gun ever made. He spends the next several years trying to pitch his super soaker idea, facing rejection after rejection. Nobody believes in a rocket scientist's toy gun. But Johnson persists with the same determination that got him to NASA in the first place. And when the Super Soaker finally hits stores in the early 90s, it becomes a cultural phenomenon, over $1 billion in sales. Every kid in America wants one. But here's what makes Johnson's story different. He doesn't stop there. He uses his Super Soaker fortune to fund research on advanced battery technology and energy solutions, proving that black genius isn't confined to one field. That a mind brilliant enough to work on spacecraft is brilliant enough to revolutionize play, and then brilliant enough to tackle the energy crisis. From NASA to backyards, to the future of sustainable power, Lonnie Johnson keeps innovating. The stories keep coming, an overwhelming flood of genius that history tried to bury. Philip B. Downing invented the street mailbox in 1891, giving everyone the ability to mail letters conveniently from their neighborhood corner. Every time you drop a letter in that blue box, you're using his design. Sarah Boone improved the ironing board in 1892, making it easier to press clothing properly. Every modern ironing board uses her innovations. Frederick McKinley Jones invented the refrigerated truck, changing the food industry forever and making fresh produce accessible nationwide. Otis Boykin created improved electrical resistors found in computers, radios, televisions, and hearing aids. And his pacemaker control unit has saved countless lives. Dr. Shirley Jackson's research at Bell Laboratories led to caller ID, call waiting, and fiber optic cables. Every single time your phone rings, every time you check who's calling, her genius made it possible. These are just a few names plucked from hundreds more. Brilliant minds whose inventions shape daily life for billions of people. Yet their names remain absent from textbooks, from history books, from the collective memory of civilization. This isn't accident. This is systematic erasure. A deliberate choice made over and over again to deny credit, to steal patents, to ensure that wealth and recognition flow only in one direction, while genius flows from every corner of humanity. The pattern reveals itself clearly now, undeniable and infuriating. Patents denied because of skin color. Credit stolen by white colleagues who happen to work alongside black inventors. History books that go silent precisely when black achievement should be loudest. Wealth that could have been generational, building black communities for centuries, stolen and redirected, leaving families in poverty while their ancestors' inventions generate billions for others. But here's the truth they tried to hide. Modern life was built by black genius. The lights above your head, the traffic signals keeping you safe, the blood transfusions saving your life, the security protecting your home, the very ability to communicate across distances. Innovation has no color. Brilliance knows no race, but credit was always distributed along racial lines, recognition carefully controlled, stories deliberately buried. These inventors persisted despite impossible odds. They created world-changing innovations while being told they were inferior, while being denied basic humanity, while watching others take credit for their work. They saved lives that included the lives of people who would never acknowledge their humanity. They built the modern world for a civilization that refused to let them fully participate in it. Now you know the truth. The question becomes, what will you do with it? These stories must be told, shared, taught in every classroom and discussed in every home. Demand these names in textbooks. Speak them aloud. Teach them to children. Make sure that Lewis Latimer, Garrett Morgan, Dr. Charles Drew, Dr. Patricia Bath, Marie Van Britten Brown, Lonnie Johnson, and hundreds more are remembered not as footnotes, but as the giants they were. If this made you angry, if it inspired you, if it makes you want to shout these names from rooftops, then good. That's exactly the response this history deserves. Like this video right now, share it with everyone you know. Subscribe and hit that notification bell because we're uncovering more hidden history every single week. Stories that need to be told, truths that need to be heard. Comment below and tell us which inventor shocked you most. Which story hit you hardest? Which name you're going to make sure never gets forgotten again. These geniuses changed your life in ways you use every single day. The absolute least we can do is remember their names, honor their brilliance, and make sure that future generations know exactly who built the modern world. They were erased from history, but they won't be forgotten anymore.